happening. You know, we study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can't have it. You can't have a country like that. It's so beautiful to see at Washington, D.C., that people are walking down the middle of the street and they're going to restaurants, and you are too. And half of you were mugged. I mean, I don't know if she's here now. I don't see her, but you know, some people were badly mugged that were reporters. Two of the people right standing in the back of the room were mugged, and they're not going to have that anymore. And if you look at the crime stats in Washington, D.C., you have a safe place again. They were afraid to go to a restaurant because the restaurant would be held up while they're having dinner. And so they'd be mugged going there, and assuming they escaped the mugging, they go to the restaurant and then they're held up. This is how bad it's been.
To follow up on the visa question, I think this may be the next thing that you're signing, but for the H-1B visa action that you're doing
it's
today,
going to be next. We'll talk about that.
You're very close to the technology CEOs. Are they concerned about that?
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it. Okay, we'll talk about that next, Sarah. Okay. My friend, why don't you keep that, okay?
Thank you.
Done such a good job. Okay. It's phase one. John, are you happy? Sure. Pitch. Okay, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States to work.
We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it. Go ahead, Sean.
Mr. President, it seems like there's two categories of visa programs. The H-1B that a lot of people believe take American jobs, and then the gold card and programs like EB-5 that add value and jobs to America. Is that sort of how you look at the visa program?
Well, ideally, look, if somebody's got the people, they're not going to want to spend $100,000 as an example in your second category. So it's not taking jobs. And we need certain jobs. We need certain skilled jobs that we don't have. But they won't be taking jobs because, you know, ideally the people aren't going to want to. They're not going to
investing in America and creating jobs. Right. So that's why I'm asking.
They're really investing.
It seems like you have two categories. One, Secretary Lutnick's the gold card and EB-5 that create jobs, add investment, and then there's other ones that seem to take, you know, whether it's a J1 and O or an H-1B that take U.S. jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty correct. I mean, I would say that's a correct assessment. But the main thing is we're going to have great people coming in, and they're going to be paying. I mean, it's wonderful to say, oh, gee, we took in 25 million people that, look, many criminals, jails were opened from Venezuela, from many other countries, and they were let out of jail and poured into our country, our poor country, how it suffered with this stupid president that we had and the stupid people that surrounded him right around this desk, these liberal, crazy people that have destroyed, they could have destroyed. If we didn't win this election, our country would have been dead. Our country was dead. Think of it, and I've said this, man. The king of Saudi Arabia said, your country was dead 1 year. They thought it was dead. This country couldn't have survived another year of those people running it. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. And this is going to help. And we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. This will be taking in, the gold card will be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And companies will be able to keep some people that they need. You know, they need people of expertise, great expertise. And I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. And we're going to take that money and we're going to reduce taxes. We're going to reduce debt. We have a very, very strong country. Assuming everything works out great with the lawsuit that we have a lawsuit that's inspired by foreign countries that ripped us off for 25 years. But assuming we win that, we hopefully win it. It's in the Supreme Court of the United States. We have a country that no stopping us. We're rich, we'll be rich. We can take care of poor people. We can take care of our military. We can take care of everything. We can take care of beyond the country. We can help take care of the world. That we don't, it'll just be the same struggle that we've had for years where other countries charged us tariffs and they ripped us off. Our country has been ripped off more than any country in the history of the world. And now we're doing what we have to do. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars at levels that nobody has ever seen, trillions of dollars. And we're using it to reduce debt. We're using it to reduce taxes. The great big beautiful bill is a big tax reduction. It's being paid for by the tariffs, and people are paying a lot less money in taxes. They're being, think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. It really is. It's the golden age. We're making it the golden age. Without the tariffs, it would be impossible. And China, for years, charged us tariffs, and they continue to do it, and so do other countries. Most countries, they charge us. They were ripping. Look, the European Union, as you know, I get along very well with them, but they ripped us off so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything. Now, the European Union is paying us $950 billion, and they're paying us $750 billion to buy our energy, and they're okay with it. They signed the agreement. You know, it's not like anybody forced them to do it. They're okay with us. Tariffs are making our country very rich again, and we'll be able to take care of our debt. We'll be able to take care of our taxes, lower taxes. We'll be able to take care of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to be a rich country again. Without tariffs, we'd be in very big trouble.
Do you still want Europe to pay 100% tariffs on China?
Excuse me. H-1Bs are sometimes used by people already in the country legally on other visas or student visas. Does this apply to them or to renewals, or does it only apply to people applying for the first time from abroad?
Renewals, first times, the company needs to decide, is that person valuable enough to have $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total, it can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year, so either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration. Hire Americans and make sure the people coming in are the top people. Stop the nonsense of letting people just come into this country on these visas that were given away for free. President is crystal clear. Valuable people only for America. Stop the nonsense.
And remember, the country,
It's just a fee, right?
Yeah.
Fee to America.
the country would rather not have to pay $100,000, but and they'd rather, how do you do that? You hire Americans. So there's an incentive to hire American. But there may be instances where it's better off doing it through expertise or whatever it may be. But they're both unbelievable, whether it's a gold card or anything else that we talked about today. And that includes talking about freedom of speech, because our country has been decimated by bad people, very bad people that love crime. They love crime. Explain it to me. They don't want to have our military go in and save lives. But when you go and ask the people, do you mind having the National Guard come in if it men's safety. They look at the question like, what's wrong? What kind of a stupid question is that? Of course they do. We're going to have a safe country again. We're not going to have people shot. 11 people shot. Think of it. In Chicago, over a period of 6 or 7 weeks, 55 people were murdered. And then you have a governor saying how wonderful it is. It's not wonderful. It's very unsafe. There's not a place in the world. You go outside, you go to Afghanistan, you go to different places all over the world that you hear about. It's 20% of what's happening in places like Chicago. And you think of them as unsafe. Mexico City, it's a tough place, dangerous place. The crime rate is lower. Think of it. What's happening to our country? We're not going to let it happen. And I think I got elected largely for that reason. So we're going to have a safe country again. We're going to have a great country again. We're doing unbelievably. We have the highest stock market in history. We have the most investment we've ever had, ever, as a country coming in. And we're very simple. You know, they said, how'd you get elected? I got elected because I'm going to make America great again. That's what we're doing. We're making America great again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thanks, guys. We'll go out the door right there. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Let's go. Let's go. Right out this way. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Let's move. Thanks, guys.
Ready? Well, thank you very much. As you know, we passed the continuing resolution in the Republican House today. It was an amazing vote, actually. It showed we want to keep things going and going properly. It was good for a lot of reasons. The Republicans want to keep government open. But in the Senate, we have 53 Republicans total. And we need 60 votes. That means we need Democrat votes. I want to thank Senator John Fetterman. He wants to keep the country open. We're doing so well as a country. We're doing probably better than ever before. If you look at the stock market and other indicators, we have tremendous investment coming in, record investment coming in. Everything's going well, but the Democrats are unhappy about that because they don't want it to go well. I think they actually dislike our country greatly. So they want to shut down the country. They want to have open borders. They want to stop the fighting of crime, where we've been very successful. The D.C., as you know, Washington, D.C. is it's a hot place right now. Everyone's having dinners. They're going out all over. There's very little crime. They haven't seen numbers like this in many, many years. And other places, as you know, we're going into Memphis. We'll soon be going into Chicago. We've already had people out there and in there, and FBI's been there. And we've brought the numbers down, but we're going to be bringing them down a whole lot. But I guess they want crime, and we fight crime, and it's a pretty big difference. They want to have men playing women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. And if they don't get everything that they want, all these things that they want that are proven so badly, they want to close our government down. We're not going to let bad things happen to our country. We're not going to approve things that we shouldn't be approving. Just today, the House Democrats voted against condemning the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. Who could vote against that? Condemning, all they're saying, please condemn the assassination of a human being. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. Remember this, we had an election a very short time ago. Republicans won presidential. We won the popular vote by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the Electoral College by a lot. We won most U.S. counties in a total landslide. So we won most. It's a very big statistic. We won the counties in a number that I don't believe has been hit before, 2,600 counties versus 525 counties for the Democrats. So the Democrats really should start respecting what takes place at the voter booth. In many cases, it's not a voter booth because they have mail-in voting, which is a very corrupt situation. But despite that, we won in a landslide. And we have to remember, when you win the election, Elections have consequences. So we'll continue to talk to the Democrats, but I think you could very well end up with a closed country for a period of time. And we'll take care of the military, we'll take care of Social Security, we'll take care of the things that we have to take care of. A lot of the things that Democrats fight for, which in many cases aren't very good things, will not be able to be paid. So we'll watch and see how they do with that. They'll have to handle their constituents pretty carefully. So we're proud to announce that we won the House. We did fine in the Senate, but we need 60 votes. So we have 53 senators, and we need 60 votes. That means the Democrats have to vote in the Senate. And I don't think they will be voting. Now, what we are doing, we're really here today to talk about something else, which is the gold card, which is going to bring a lot of money into our country, which is going to reduce taxes and lots of other good things. But we'll save that for a little bit later. Why don't we do this first, and then we'll talk about the gold card, okay? Any questions, Jeff?
Your call with President Xi. Your call this morning with
It
President
was great.
Xi.
I had a great call with President Xi, and as you know, he approved the TikTok deal, and we're in the process. We have some great investors, some of the biggest in the world, American investors, great people, and we look forward to getting that deal closed.
Is it fully approved? The Chinese statements didn't necessarily
Well,
indicate that.
I think so. I mean, when you say fully approved, I don't know what that means. We have to get it signed. I guess there could be a formality. I found his word to be very good. President Xi and I had a long talk. We talked for almost 2 hours, and started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was a very good talk. We talked about trade. We talked about war. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about Russia, Ukraine, obviously, and Gaza. Talked about a lot of subjects. It was a long call. It was a good call. We have a very good relationship. But the TikTok deal is well on its way, as you know, and the investors are getting ready. And I think China wanted to see it stay open, too. They wanted to see it. And I can tell you the young people in our country wanted to see it stay open very badly because, and if you take a look at my numbers, no Republican has ever done anything like we did. We got massive numbers of youth vote. And by the way, helped very much by Charlie Kirk. So Charlie was very much in favor of TikTok. He liked TikTok. And he said, you should use it. And other people said that too, and I used it, and I don't know if I have I think I set records. I looked at numbers that are phenomenal. We'll pass them out to you. And it had probably a pretty big effect on the election because we won the election by a lot. So we are at a situation where in a little while, meaning a number of days, we'll probably, I don't know if you can make a deal with these people. I think these people are crazy. Again, anybody wants open borders and don't want to fight. They don't want to fight crime. They hate to fight crime. And in Chicago, last weekend, you had 11 people killed, murdered, and you had 28 shot. And those numbers have been pretty consistent all throughout a period of time, whether it was 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, 11 people, 12 people killed, murdered. And they don't want to spend money to fight crime. And it's not even much money, relatively speaking. It's very little. But we're going there anyway. It doesn't make any difference. We're going to Chicago. We're going to Memphis next. And we're going to clean up the crime in the cities because we have to do that. Okay?
Mr. President, with this deal today, are you confident that the CCP won't be exerting control over TikTok?
We're going to have a very tight control. And look, it's an amazing thing that's been created. There's tremendous value with TikTok. And I'm a little prejudiced because I frankly did so well on it. It got me numbers that nobody's ever even heard of before. So a lot of people want it. The young people of this country want it badly. The parents of those young people want it badly. And so we were able to work out a deal with China. And it's a very good deal for us. I hope it's a good deal for them.
Would you be confident in a deal, or would you accept a deal where China controls the algorithm of TikTok?
Well, it's all being worked out. We're going to have very good control. We have these are American investors, all of them, and they all love our country. They're all very well-known people, very famous people, actually, financially, and they'll have control of it.
Mr.
And
President.
I want to say, I want to thank President Xi because he was a gentleman, and we've just had a good relationship, and we wanted people, a lot of people in this country wanted to be open.
Mr.
And
President.
if it weren't open, maybe, I don't know, I think we won by so much it wouldn't have mattered, but we got a lot of votes. We got a lot of Republican votes from very young people. You go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, sir. Russian jets entered Estonia's airspace today for 12 minutes. Do you see that as a threat to NATO?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it. They're going to be briefing me in a short while, so I'll let you know about it tonight or tomorrow.
What's your take in general? Just being
Well, I don't love it. I don't love it when that happens. It could be big trouble, but I'll let you know later. They're going to brief me in about an hour.
And a follow-up on Charlie Kirk, there's been a lot of talk about free speech this week. Do you see a difference between cancel culture and consequence culture?
I mean, your question's a little trick question. I'm a very strong person for free speech. At the same time, when you have networks where I won an election, like in counties, I guess it's 2,600 to 525. That's called a landslide times two. When you have that level of popularity or voter support, as I did in the last election, and yet 97 and 94%, different numbers, you see different numbers with different stats, but 97, 94, 95, 96% of the people are against me in the sense of the newscasts are against me. The stories are they said 97% bad. So they gave me 97. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad. See, I think that's really illegal, personally. You can't have a free airwaves. You're getting free airwaves from the United States government, and you can't have that and say, and somebody that just won an election, and I had to go through this during the election. I think it's a miracle that I can win when 97% of the stories on the networks are bad, or whatever it may be, whether it's 89, it doesn't matter. It's a tremendous number. You know it, you report it all the time, and it changes. But when you have that kind of a negative reporting, fake negative reporting, when they take a great story and they make it into a bad story constantly, that's what they do. Look, 60 Minutes took Kamala's answer and they threw it out and they gave her a different answer so that she sounded competent. When things like that happen, George Slopadopoulos from your network, right? George Slopadopoulos had to pay $16 million to me because of what he said. And that's ABC. You had to pay more than that. Your network had to pay more than that. So I think it's very sad. But I think that reporting has to be at least accurate to an extent. Again, when somebody is given 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that's no longer free speech, that's no longer anything, that's just cheating. And they cheat. And they become really members of the Democrat National Committee. That's what they are, the networks, in my opinion. They're just offshoots of the Democrat National Committee.
Mr. President, thank you. Liam Cosgrove with Zero Hedge. People are still anticipating who your pick for National Security Advisor will be. They're worried Marco Rubio is a little overworked. And one of the reported frontrunners is Michael Anton from the State Department. He's just authored the National Security Strategy. Also in the mix is Mike Flynn and Steve Witkoff. Can you give us an indication of who?
Well, they're all good. No, we'll make a decision soon.
Okay.
But we're doing very well. You know, I settled 7 wars, more than that, I think. But actually, we settled 7 wars. I have, we're working on Gaza, it's a tough one, but we'll get it done somehow. And we're also working with Russia and Ukraine. They hate each other so much you wouldn't believe it. President Putin and President Zelensky, they hate each other to a level that you wouldn't believe. So they're having a little bit of a problem with that.
And are you considering Stephen Moran for Fed chair?
I hadn't thought of it too much. He's doing a great job. Just got approved. His vote was a very good one. The Fed should have done more. You know, too late. Powell is terrible. He's a terrible chair. I think it's just terrible. But despite that, we're powering through it. We have another record stock market today. We're very, very high levels, and we're at the highest levels So we're setting records many days during my administration. We've set records, and we'll see what happens with 50,000. 50,000 is a pretty big number. Never come close. And we're not so far away from it. So that's because they see what's happening. Not so much what's happening exactly right now, but they see all the plants that are being built. They see the kind of investment that's going to be made. When you take $17 trillion, so Biden had $250 billion, okay? Or putting a simpler way, they had much less than $1 trillion, but they had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. I have $17 trillion for 8 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think they're looking at that and they're saying when those plants open, right now they're being built, a lot of them, and some are starting over the next year. It takes a while, but we're getting fast permits. And when those plants get built, I don't think there'll be anything like what we're going to experience yet.
Mr. President, if I can, on the top subject of free speech, Ted Cruz compared Brendan Carr to a mob boss, the way he's threatening television stations and saying it's absolutely dangerous for the government to determine which speech is okay and which is not. What's your reaction to Ted Cruz?
I think Brendan Carr is an incredible American patriot with courage. You know, it used to be, I remember in the old days that networks would have to get licensed, relicensed, and it was always a big deal. You know, they had to show honesty and integrity. When you have a network, again, I'll use the same numbers, whether it's 90 or 94 or 97, all different numbers, but when you have networks that give somebody 97% bad publicity or 94% bad publicity, I think that's dishonesty. And you know they're getting free airwaves, right? You know that, right? You get them for nothing. These airwaves, they make millions and millions of dollars. The news makes millions of dollars. ABC, your network. I mean, your network wrote very badly about me, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So you think you have a right, or that Brendan Carr has a right to take away the license?
I think Brendan Carr is a courageous person. I think Brendan Carr doesn't like to see the airwaves be used illegally and incorrectly and purposely horribly. Doesn't like to see a person that won the election in a landslide get 97% bad publicity before the election. I mean, it's amazing that I won the election with that, but here's what happened. The people have given your networks no credibility. They don't give them any credibility, John. If they did, they wouldn't vote for me. They wouldn't have voted for me. When you look at, I mean, you could also say the liberal media, the liberal left, when you look at these stories and papers, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, I assume you're talking mostly about the networks, but they have a licensing procedure, and you can read it as well. They have to show honesty and integrity. And when they take a good, well, I think the people decide. That's why I'm president. When they take a great success, like you often do, and you make it into like it's a loser, or you put a negative spin on it, I don't think that's right. So I think Brendan Carr is a great American patriot. So I disagree with Ted Cruz on that.
Mr. President.
UN next week? You're going to the UN?
I'll be at the UN. I'll be making a speech, yes.
And are you meeting any other world leaders?
Many of them.
And can you
Who
tell us
are you meeting, Mr. President?
Well, I'm meeting
Syria,
them. They're being
Zelensky.
set up.
What is your goal from attending that meeting? What do you hope to get out of it?
World peace. Nobody's done a better job than I've done on world peace. Nobody's settled so many wars as I have. You know, I've been here probably a little bit more than 8 months, and I've settled 7, and that doesn't include the destruction of a vast potential nuclear disaster in Iran, which we wiped out totally. As I say, obliterated. We obliterated it. It's been turned right with this beautiful plane right here. We just ordered some more of them, by the way. The B-2 bomber. Just ordered some more. The more updated version. Not that we needed that. We just need the plane because it was so flawless. These pilots flew 37 hours flawlessly. Not an engine problem. Not a screw. Not a bolt came loose. It was an amazing. Compare that to many years ago, Jimmy Carter, same country, with the helicopters and the problems and the prisoners and the hostages, and what a mess. You know, these These planes flew 37 hours without a stop. They fueled up. We had 52 tankers fueling the planes along the way. It was an incredible, and every single bomb hit its mark. And then we fired 30 of them from submarines, from a submarine. What a job that was. And I don't even include that, but that stopped a war. That stopped maybe a catastrophic war.
Mr. President.
So, so I think that nobody has ever done anywhere near that. Now, on top of that, we're working very hard to get Russia-Ukraine settled. We'll see what's going to happen there. I hope we're going to get it done. President Xi and I spoke to about it, and I believe that he really would like to see it done also, and I think he's going to work with us to help.
What was your
Mr. President, on the UN.
What was your message to President Xi on the war in Ukraine? What are you asking?
Well, it's the same as his message to me. He would like to see it done. He would like to see it. I believe he would like to see it ended. Yes, I do believe.
Mr. President, these two wars that you were talking about, Gaza and Ukraine, are escalating at the same time. You're going to take the stage at the UN, back at the stage after these years. Do you plan to setting any kind of red lines for these two countries? And you said before you were frustrated with Putin. Are you also frustrated with Netanyahu?
We have a long time to go before I get up and speak at the UN, because every day is a long time when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to Israel and the Middle East. So we have a long time to go, but you know a lot of my opinions, and remember this, you can't forget October 7th either. People are forgetting October 7th. They forget it too quickly. That was one of the worst days in world history. It was the most evil attack that I think you could really say babies were involved, little babies were involved, and having their heads chopped off and all of the things that took place. You can't forget that. I don't forget that. A lot of people do, but I don't. Yeah, please.
But how about when, just one more, Mr. President.
What goes into retaking Bagram? Does that require boots on the ground?
We'll see what happens with Bagram. We're talking to Afghanistan. It should have never been given up. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. There was no reason to give it up. I was leaving Afghanistan. I was leaving. I was the one that got it down to 5,000 soldiers, but we were going to keep Bagram, the air base. I said it yesterday, and we had an incredible trip, as you know, to UK, and I said it during the press conference. It's one of the most powerful runways ever built in terms of weight, length, and load, what it could take, and we just gave it up for nothing. We gave it up for nothing. There was no reason to give it up. We weren't going to leave Bagram. Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing. We had a man that didn't know what he was doing. We had a man, by the way, that didn't approve. If you take a look at what's happening in Congress, we had a man that signed everything with, almost everything with an auto pen, and he didn't tell the people from the auto pen, whoever was using it. The one man that used it predominantly said that Biden only spoke to him twice, and it was only about the weather. Okay, it was about nothing. So those pardons that he gave are illegal. He gave illegal pardons, and that includes the congressman that destroyed and deleted all the information from J6. They deleted everything because it turned out that they were wrong. It turned out that I offered 10,000 National Guard or soldiers, whatever they wanted, and you wouldn't have had a problem. And they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down, and the mayor of Washington, D.C. turned it down. They deleted everything, and they destroyed it, illegally destroyed it. And Biden gave them a pardon. And Biden gave a lot of other people pardons that, frankly, would be in jail if it wasn't for those pardons. But those pardons now are illegal, according to just about everybody.
What was you having
on Letitia James, are you disappointed that the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia has not prosecuted Letitia James? Do you intend to fire him?
Well, we're going to see what happens. I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like she's very guilty of something, but I really don't know. I know that the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District, or from that district in Virginia, that he was approved by 2 Democrat senators who, in my opinion, are among the worst. And when I learned that 2 senators, Democrats, because as you know, it's very hard with the blue slip, it's very hard for a Republican to get somebody approved if you have 1 senator that's a Democrat because of an old custom. It's not a law, it's a custom. It's a ridiculous custom. But if you have a Democrat senator, you have to get that senator approved. Well, in this case, we had 2. When I saw that he got 2 senators, 2 gentlemen that are bad news as far as I'm concerned. When I saw that he got approved by those two men, I said, pull it, because he can't be any good.
So you want him fired, you want him out?
Yeah, I want him out, yeah. When I learned that he was blue-slipped through by two Democrat senators in Virginia, people that would never vote for, the people that haven't voted for us for probably years, okay, probably years. In my opinion, two bad guys. You know, they are, Warner and Kane. Two bad guys, bad senators too. They do a terrible job for the people of Virginia. But when I saw that he got approved by these two terrible people that haven't voted, they just don't vote no matter what it is. We could give them the greatest deal ever and they still wouldn't vote. And they voted for this guy. And I have other people, judges, and I have U.S. attorneys from other states where I have the same situation, and they can't get approved. So when I learned that they voted for him, I said, I don't really want him. Okay.
Mr. President, do you want to get?
Have you seen
behind you, please?
Have you seen the polling, the Gallup poll out of Ukraine that shows 23%, less than a quarter of Ukrainians actually support continuing the war against Putin? We saw the European leaders come here and try to say the world is united for the war effort, but Ukrainians have war fatigue themselves.
Well,
have you seen the polling and your thoughts on it?
I don't blame them. It's a war that never should have started. It's a war that never would have happened. If I were president, that war never would have happened, ever. That's a disgrace that that war happened. And they're losing anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 people a week on that war, which is the worst since the Second World War. That's a war that should have never happened.
And if you consider
would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. When I was here, it didn't happen. Go ahead.
Have you considered cutting funding, even promises made by the Biden administration?
Well, we're not spending any money on the war. You know, we're being paid for everything we said. Unlike Biden, he gave them $350 billion. And it was shocking. We're not spending any money on the war. The war is being funded by NATO. NATO is buying our equipment. In fact, I don't want to make money on that war. I don't want to, but we are actually making money on that war because they're buying our equipment, as you know. But NATO, as you know, it's very important, is funding the entire thing. They're paying for the missiles, for the tanks. They're paying for anything that's sent over there. It goes to NATO, and then NATO does what they want with it. In this case, I guess they give it to Ukraine. It's a very sad war. It's a war that never should have happened.
Mr. President,
going back to TikTok, could you tell me, is the U.S. government going to take a board seat in the company, and will the U.S. government get a board seat within the company?
Well, we're going to announce that. Are you talking about TikTok?
Yes,
yeah,
TikTok.
We're going to announce it. But it's a great deal for our country. It's a great deal for all of the young people in the country that wanted it, and people generally. I was happy with it. Look, I wasn't a fan of TikTok, and then I got to use it, and I became a fan, and it helped me win the election in a landslide. So I think that it's a deal that's going to be great. And it's also controlled by very powerful and very substantial American people. By the way, all American people.
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
Mr. President, a question from Newsmax. Last year, before you took office, there was an estimated 6.8 million men not actively seeking work of prime working age. So if you and Secretary Lutnick could talk about the efforts your administration is taking to help our American gentlemen get back to work.
Yeah, well, what we're doing is they're building plants all over the United States, and frankly, because of tariffs, we're taking in trillions of dollars, and countries that have ripped us off for years, and everyone knows this, countries that have ripped us off for years, like nobody's ever been ripped off before, they're now having to pay up. They're paying a lot of money to America, and we're reducing taxes with that money, and we're doing things that we were never able to do before. So it's you're going to have a lot of jobs. The jobs are being created right now, and the tariffs are protecting our country. And we didn't use, tariffs were used against us, but we didn't use them against others. But we're really better at it than anybody else, and we will have taken in trillions of dollars. Nobody's ever seen anything. Even people that were against the tariffs, now they see the way they're working. And by the way, with no inflation, with no problem, we're just building up cash, and we're using that cash to reduce taxes, reduce debt, and other things. It's a great thing to watch. And your honest reporters are saying they've never seen anything like what's happening. Our country is becoming very rich again only because of tariffs. If we didn't have it, if I didn't get elected, this country it was a dead country. Look, we were a dead country a year ago, and now we're the most successful, most vibrant country anywhere in the world.
Mr. President.
Healthcare.
Good evening, sir.
Good to see you. You were good on television.
Thank you, sir. I tried. Tonight, in a few minutes, Steve Bannon will appear on my show.
Good.
He floats the idea that you should dual hat Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, not only as Treasury Secretary, but as interim Fed chair. Would you be willing to entertain that?
In other words, you like Scott.
Yes, sir, very much.
So do I. And I like Steve, too.
Would you like to see that, him dual
Well,
hatted
it's
as
certainly
Fed
an
chair?
interest. Dual hat. We could save a little bit of salary. I think I could maybe make a deal where we just give him one salary. You know, I have a couple of them.
I don't think you need.
I have Marco. No, I don't think so. And we have Marco's got about 3 positions, right? He's doing great also. No, I don't think that's going to be necessary. Actually, I went to Scott and I talked to him about that position, and he loves what he's doing right now. So, you know, he's not in the mix because he loves being Secretary of the Treasury.
Quick follow-up. Today is the first day of early voting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Are you planning on campaigning for Winsome Sears, John Reed, or Jason Mayaris?
Well, I'm going to have to look at some of them. As you know, it's sort of a semi-local election. I've been watching it. I've been seeing the ads.
I would appreciate it as a Virginia voter. Just
Who do you like of the group? Who do you like?
The whole ticket, sir.
All of them? You like them? All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll take a very strong look.
Appreciate that.
For you, I'm going to look.
Secretary Kennedy's panel on vaccine changed its broad recommendations on COVID-19 vaccines today. Are you comfortable with that change, or would you like to see Americans take the vaccines that were developed under your tenure?
Yeah. Well, the vaccines, according to a lot of people, and if you look at charts, have had a tremendous, Operation Warp Speed. It was, just according to just about everybody, was one of the greatest things that any president has ever done in this country. So we're very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud of Regeneron and some of the things that came out of, all of the labs and all of the research that we've done. So I don't know exactly what the final determination is, but I had the vaccine. I was very happy with it. Here I am, right? Here I am.
Have you had it again recently?
Bobby Kennedy seems to be undoing what you did with Operation Warp Speed.
I put him in there because I want to have opposite views. That's okay. I think we're going to have something very, very big coming up soon on autism. Autism is totally out of control. And one of the most important things that, in my opinion, I had to do is to see what's going on with autism. And we're going to have a news conference early next week on autism. And I think you're going to see some things that are amazing that we've learned that somebody else wouldn't have learned. It's out of control, autism, out of control. And I think we maybe have the reason why.
But is Bobby Kennedy going too far in unwinding the vaccines?
He's saying for older people. Yeah, he's saying for older people. A lot of people agree with that. And but I can tell you this: Operation Warp Speed, one of the greatest things a president has ever done for this country. And you can say the world, because when we came up with that vaccine, the whole world opened up. But I put Bobby there as somebody that will go either way. I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact, and the results were amazingly good.
Mr. President, after your conversation,
I'm wondering if you've seen the video put out by former Israeli hostages. It's addressed to you. One is a widow of one that died, and these are people who were freed thanks to you. But they're actually encouraging you to force a ceasefire, force Netanyahu to a ceasefire, and they didn't address it to him because they think you're the one who might actually listen to them and get it done. They're worried that the hostages who are still there are more at risk if the war continues. Your thoughts on it?
They might be. They also, maybe they'll be freed because of that. You never know how it's going to look. War, I was saying, yes. War, a lot of strange things happen. A lot of results take place that you would never think were going to happen. As you know, I was able to get most of the hostages out. We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people. You know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people. And I've dealt with some of the parents, And we got all our Americans out, as you know, but now we're talking about mostly Israelis. But I dealt with parents, I spoke to parents, and they want the body of their son, I believe in almost all cases sons, but they want the body of their cherished, beautiful son. They want the body back as much as though he were alive. It's so sad to see. But I've dealt with the mothers and fathers. Please, sir, please, the body of my son. They know he's dead, and they just want him back. They want him back as much as though he's alive. I mean, it's very terrible, and you know we have very close to 40 bodies that are included in the whole thing. But we have 20, probably 20 that are living. It might be a little bit less because a couple of things. Look, young people don't die, okay? They just don't die. And they can take a lot, but a lot of people died in these horrible tunnels. They're mostly in the tunnels. I know a lot about it. I got them out. But I always said the last 20, when you get down to the last 10 or 20, it's going to be very tough. It's a nasty situation. You can't forget October 7th, but it's a nasty situation, terrible.
Mr. President, on Gaza, the UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that? That was genocide at the highest level. That was murder, genocide, you can call it whatever you want, but little babies were chopped in half.
And in Gaza?
Arms were cut off people, heads were cut off people. That's genocide. That's genocide also, I guess, right?
What do you think when you
Mr.
say
President, a question on your Memphis
Getting a
deployment.
fee from that deal, what is that fee
Well,
going to be in the U.S.
it hasn't been
government?
fully negotiated, but we'll get something from the standpoint that
You give us a sense
we
of
worked
it.
hard. We put up a lot. We spent a lot of money on letting this come and letting this, it's a very, very big deal. It's a very powerful deal. And the United States really, I see it. I mean, people were saying, save TikTok, save TikTok. So many people. It's a big thing. And, you know, China can be very proud that they were able to get that started. And so I very much appreciate President Xi's working with us on that, very much.
Antifa, what comes next after designating Antifa a terrorist
Well, we have others that
organization?
we're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? Have you taken a look what's happening in Portland? It's, I mean, this has been going on for years. It's just people out of control. They're crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of the problems in Memphis where you can't even walk a block without getting shot. We're going to get rid of the problems in Chicago. Chicago's a great city and we have to save it. We have to save it. I told you I had the head of the Union Pacific Railroad in my office and I said, so what do you think? You go to every city, you have railroads in you are the biggest railroad, beautiful railroad. He's a great guy. I said, what do you think? He said, sir, save Chicago. Don't let it go down. Save it. The way he said it was so meaningful to me. It was so like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. You know, who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week, getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic standpoint, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming, and the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. Yeah. They're thanking me. They're saying thank you. And I almost know what they mean, because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it.
Do you know? Mr. President,
I did discuss it, and I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and they want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem, and it sounds good to me, to be honest with you. Sounds good to me. I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. We try, you know, he sort of stops at many of them.
Mr. President,
New Orleans. We have to save New Orleans.
New York.
Mr. President, when are you going to get details
We're going to be
on
going
Memphis?
into New York, too. Yeah.
Mr. President,
and we're going to be going
gonna...
in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans
you are
for
really
Memphis?
Obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I am asking, what are your plans for Memphis? Many people want
I'm
to know
not going to talk to you until I call on you.
What are your plans for Memphis?
Who else?
President?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to settle this free speech question, because you've said that you restored free speech in America.
Yeah.
Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical of you, for your political opponents, for people who say things you don't like?
I've become immune to it.
You unfairly?
I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me, and that's why your network paid me $15 million, or $16 million, I believe, to be exact, George Slopadopoulos. And that's why CBS paid me a lot of money, too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning the cases. And the reason I'm winning is because you're guilty, John. You're guilty. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, you know, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that. But look, you paid a big price because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're some wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Frankly, you're a terrible reporter. You know it, and so do I. Okay.
Mr. President, can you talk about why the Justice Department
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about something that's going to reduce our taxes greatly, that's going to hopefully bring some great people into our country. You know, as you know, right now nobody's coming in because we've succeeded in closing. We've closed the border very successfully. I think you will agree. We had nobody come in for the last few months. I mean, it was actually said zero. Even I can't believe zero, but the numbers are put out by very impartial people or people that have a tendency to be on the left. And they actually said for the last 3 months, nobody came in. We have a very strong border. It's a closed border. People are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But we are doing something where rather than coming into the border, 25 million people came into our country during Biden. One of the saddest things, the worst thing, look, he was horrible in inflation. He was horrible in just about everything you could be. I don't think he was good on. He wasn't even fair on anything. It was a horrible administration. He was the worst president in the history of our country, and we have to mop it up. The hardest thing that we have to do is to get rid of the criminals that he allowed into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers, and we're getting them out, and we're getting them out fast, and we're making America safe again. Great again, but we're making America safe again. And it's an honor to do it. But this is an unforced error. What they've done is this is just an unforced error. So I'm going to ask Howard to speak. Howard's done a fantastic job, as you know, Secretary of Commerce. And I'm going to ask Howard and Will, could you just give a quick description of what we're doing and what we're signing, et cetera? And
yes, sir.
I will do that. Go ahead.
We have 2 items for your attention today, sir. A major focus of your administration has been shifting the conversation and shifting the policy dynamics around the issue of immigration, closing the border, preventing illegal immigration, but also, as is the case with the executive order in front of you, opening new pathways for truly extraordinary people to come contribute to America instead of taking away from it. So this executive order is entitled the Gold Card. It will set up a new pathway, a new visa pathway for foreigners of extraordinary ability who are committed to supporting the United States for a payment of $1 million to the U.S. Treasury, or if a corporation is sponsoring them, $2 million by that corporation, and that will give them access to expedited visa treatment as part of this new Gold Card program.
And one of the biggest problems we have is that people, they go to the best schools and they do great and they get great marks, and then they're thrown out of the country. You're not allowed to stay. This way, a corporation will be able, sort of like a signing bonus in baseball or football, a corporation will be able to get them to stay in the country. And I think it's going to be tremendously successful. Howard, would you say a few words about it, please?
Sure. So historically, the employment-based green card program let in 281,000 people a year. And those people, on average, earned $66,000 a year on average, and they were 5 times more likely to go on assistance programs of the government. So we were taking in the bottom quartile, below the average American. It was illogical. The only country in the world that was taking in the bottom quartile. So what we are doing now is we are going to stop doing that. We're going to only take extraordinary people at the very top. Instead of people trying to take the jobs from Americans, they're going to create businesses and create jobs for Americans. And this program will raise more than $100 billion for the Treasury of the United States of America.
Which we'll use for cutting taxes and paying down debt. We think it's going to be very successful. Essentially, we're having people come in, people that in many cases, I guess, are very successful or whatever, and they're coming in, they're going to spend a lot of money to come in, they're going to pay as opposed to walking over the borders, and they may come from jails, prisons, and everything else. These people don't. They're very productive people. And they're going to pay $1 million. The corporation's going to pay $2 million. And it's going to raise billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, which is going to go to reduce taxes, pay off debt, and other good things. So I think it's going to be very successful.
Are the big techs on board with this, Mr. President?
What?
The big techs, are the big techs on board with this decision? You just
what's going to, I wish you'd speak more clearly. I really do. Give it to me again.
Are the big techs, the CEOs, on board with this decision?
Big techs?
Big techs. Did you talk to them about this?
Yeah, big tech. Yeah, it's big tech. It's every company. It's big tech. It's big tech. It's big everything. Okay. It's a company. I said it's not a tech company. It's tech companies and everything else. It's companies having a hard time getting people to be able to stay in the country. It's very difficult. Now, if you want to walk through the border, you can have no problem. People say, well, the best way to come in is walk right through the border, but they can't do that anymore because under our administration, the border is totally closed. You can only come in if you come in legally, and that's the way it's been, and that's the way it should be. And we're taking a lot of people out of the country that are here from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, and even insane asylums, people that are crazy. We're taking them out of the country. We're getting them out of the country because you can't have a country like that. And I tell you, Christie and Tom Holman and all of the people that have worked so hard on this, they've done an unbelievable job. And I think we're getting great marks for it. People feel safe. Washington, D.C. is just the beginning. We brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early just to see what was happening. We study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can't have it. You can't have a country like that. It's so beautiful to see at Washington, D.C., that people are walking down the middle of the street and they're going to restaurants, and you are too. And half of you were mugged. I mean, I don't know if she's here now. I don't see her, but some people were badly mugged that were reporters. Two of the people right standing in the back of the room were mugged, and they're not going to have that anymore. And if you look at the crime stats in Washington, D.C., you have a safe place again. They were afraid to go to a restaurant because the restaurant would be held up while they're having dinner. And so they'd be mugged going there, and assuming they escaped the mugging, they go to the restaurant and then they're held up. This is how bad it's been.
To follow up on the visa question, I think this may be the next thing that you're signing, but for the H-1B visa action that you're doing
it's
today.
going to be next. We'll talk about that.
You're very close to the technology CEOs. Are they concerned about that?
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it. Okay, we'll talk about that next, Sarah. Okay. My friend, why don't you keep that, okay?
Thank you.
Done such a good job. Okay. It's phase one. John, are you happy? Sure. Okay, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States to work.
We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land, train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it. Go ahead, Sean.
Mr. President, it seems like there's two categories of visa programs. The H-1B that a lot of people believe take American jobs, and then the gold card and programs like EB-5 that add value and jobs to America. Is that sort of how you look at the visa program?
Well, ideally, look, if somebody's got the people, they're not going to want to spend $100,000 as an example in your second category. So it's not taking jobs. And we need certain jobs. We need certain skilled jobs that we don't have. But they won't be taking jobs because, ideally the people aren't going to want to. They're not going to
investing in America and creating jobs.
Right.
So that's what I'm asking.
They're really investing.
It seems like
in
you have two categories. One, Secretary Lutnick's the gold card and EB-5 that create jobs, add investment, and then there's other ones that seem to take, whether it's a J1 and O or an H-1B that take U.S. jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty correct. I would say that's a correct assessment. But the main thing is we're going to have great people coming in, and they're going to be paying. It's wonderful to say, oh, gee, we took in 25 million people that, look, many criminals, jails were opened from Venezuela, from many other countries, and they were let out of jail and poured into our country, our poor country, how it suffered with this with this stupid president that we had and the stupid people that surrounded him right around this desk, these liberal, crazy people that have destroyed, they could have destroyed. If we didn't win this election, our country would have been dead. Our country was dead. Think of it. And I've said this, man. The king of Saudi Arabia said, your country was dead 1 year. They thought it was dead. This country couldn't have survived another year of those people running it. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. And this is going to help. And we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. This will be taking in, the gold card will be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And companies will be able to keep some people that they need. You know, they need people of expertise, great expertise. And I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. And we're going to take that money and we're going to reduce taxes. We're going to reduce debt. We have a very, very strong country. Assuming everything works out great with the lawsuit that we have a lawsuit that's inspired by foreign countries that ripped us off for 25 years. But assuming we win that, we hopefully win it. It's in the Supreme Court of the United States. We have a country that no stopping us. We're rich, we'll be rich. We can take care of poor people. We can take care of our military. We can take care of everything. We can take care of beyond the country. We can help take care of the world. That we don't, it'll just be the same struggle that we've had for years where other countries charged us tariffs and they ripped us off. Our country has been ripped off more than any country in the history of the world. And now we're doing what we have to do. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars at levels that nobody has ever seen, trillions of dollars. And we're using it to reduce debt. We're using it to reduce taxes. The great big beautiful bill is a big tax reduction. It's being paid for by the tariffs, and people are paying a lot less money in taxes. They're being, think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. It really is. It's the golden age. We're making it the golden age. Without the tariffs, it would be impossible. And China, for years, charged us tariffs, and they continue to do it, and so do other countries. Most countries, they charge us. They were ripping. Look, the European Union, as you know, I get along very well with them, but they ripped us off so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything. Now, the European Union is paying us $950 billion, and they're paying us $750 billion to buy our energy, and they're okay with it. They signed the agreement. You know, it's not like anybody forced them to do it. They're okay with us. Tariffs are making our country very rich again, and we'll be able to take care of our debt. We'll be able to take care of our taxes, lower taxes. We'll be able to take care of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to be a rich country again. Without tariffs, we'd be in very big trouble.
Do you still want Europe to pay 100% tariffs on China?
Excuse me. H-1Bs are sometimes used by people already in the country legally on other visas or student visas. Does this apply to them or to renewals, or does it only apply to people applying for the first time from abroad?
Renewals, first times, the company needs to decide, is that person valuable enough to have a $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total, it can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year, so either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration. Hire Americans and make sure the people coming in are the top people. Stop the nonsense of letting people just come into this country on these visas that were given away for free. President is crystal clear. Valuable people only for America. Stop the nonsense.
And remember, the country,
it's just a fee, right?
Yeah,
fee to America.
The country would rather not have to pay $100,000, but and they'd rather, how do you do that? You hire Americans. So there's an incentive to hire American. But there may be instances where it's better off doing it through expertise or whatever it may be. But they're both unbelievable, whether it's a gold card or anything else that we talked about today. And that includes talking about freedom of speech, because our country has been decimated by bad people, very bad people, people that love crime. They love crime. Explain it to me. They don't want to have our military go in and save lives. But when you go and ask the people, do you mind having the National Guard come in if it meant safety? They look at the question like, what's wrong? What kind of a stupid question is that? Of course they do. We're going to have a safe country again. We're not going to have people shot, 11 people shot. Think of it. In Chicago, over a period of 6 or 7 weeks, 55 people were murdered. And then you have a governor saying how wonderful it is. It's not wonderful. It's very unsafe. There's not a place in the world. You go outside, you go to Afghanistan, you go to different places all over the world that you hear about. It's 20% of what's happening in places like Chicago. And you think of them as unsafe. Mexico City, it's a tough place, dangerous place. The crime rate is lower. Think of it. What's happening to our country? We're not going to let it happen. And I think I got elected largely for that reason. So we're going to have a safe country again. We're going to have a great country again. We're doing unbelievably. We have the highest stock market in history. We have the most investment we've ever had, ever, as a country coming in. And we're very simple. You know, they said, how'd you get elected? I got elected because I'm going to make America great again. That's what we're doing. We're making America great again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thanks, guys. We'll go out the door right there. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Let's go. Let's go. Right out this way. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Let's move. Thanks, guys.
Ready? Well, thank you very much. As you know, we passed the continuing resolution in the Republican House today. It was an amazing vote, actually. It showed we want to keep things going and going properly. It was good for a lot of reasons. The Republicans want to keep government open. But in the Senate, we have 53 Republicans total. And we need 60 votes. That means we need Democrat votes. I want to thank Senator John Fetterman. He wants to keep the country open. We're doing so well as a country. We're doing probably better than ever before. If you look at the stock market and other indicators, we have tremendous investment coming in, record investment coming in. Everything's going well, but the Democrats are unhappy about that because they don't want it to go well. I think they actually dislike our country greatly. So they want to shut down the country. They want to have open borders. They want to stop the fighting of crime, where we've been very successful. The D.C., as you know, Washington, D.C. is it's a hot place right now. Everyone's having dinners. They're going out all over. There's very little crime. There's a lot of competition for this, and Alabama's getting it. Huntsville in particular. So congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs, and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, and that's billions, because it can't be millions, it's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job, and Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to give my condolences. Your grandmother, her grandmother just passed away. She was 100, right?
100, and she loves you, Mr. President.
Well, and she was very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you. So thank you, Katie.
Wonderful woman.
She must have been. To produce you indirectly, I can tell you she had to be. Tommy Tuberville, who's a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that out.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, that's right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. So, but it's, we're going to put new media representatives, Barry Moore, all great friends, Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force. So important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia. And now we're far and away #1 in space, and reestablished Space Com with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the Spacecom headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections, because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, Spacecom will play a key role in building the Golden Dome, as you know. That's going to be a big thing. Everybody wants to be a participant in it. Missile Defense Shield, we're going to be having a Golden Dome that the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. The finest, the best. And by the way, Canada called. They want to be a part of it, and that'll be great. But Canada wants very much to be included in that, and we're going to work something out with them, I hope. It will also ensure that our technological capabilities, of which we're way ahead of anybody else, there's nobody close, remain unmatched long into the future. So I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words. He was very much a part of it. And really, everybody behind me was. Every one of these people would call me and lobby me. I said, Katie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. She said, that's right, sir. That's what I want. And they got their way. So I just want to congratulate. These are really special people. They're politicians in many ways, but they're great patriots, I think even more so than politicians. So they fought very hard to get it, and it's an honor to give it to Huntsville. Pete, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, right place, right time, for the right reason. In your first administration, you established the Space Force at a time when we knew we had to be looking to that domain of space. You also reestablished Spacecom to ensure that priority was put in place, and you, through the Air Force, independently identified that Huntsville, Alabama was the right place to put it. For other reasons, in the next administration under Biden, they decided to move it somewhere else. Well, during that time, the DoD Inspector General, the Government Affairs Office, they did their own assessments, and where did they say Spacecom should go? Huntsville, Alabama. So what you're doing today, Mr. President, is restoring it to precisely where it should be based on what the Space Force, the Air Force, your leadership believes will give us strategic advantage in the future. That is Huntsville, Alabama. We are way ahead in space, but this will ensure we stay leaps and bounds ahead, because that's the most important domain. Whoever controls the skies will control the future of warfare. And Mr. President, today you're ensuring that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, we are grateful for your leadership on this and restoring Space Command to its rightful home in Huntsville, Alabama. This delegation has worked together, both chambers, both parties, to make sure that Huntsville was the place that Space Command called home. As was mentioned, obviously the Biden administration chose to make this political. What we want to do is put the safety and security of Americans first. We want to make sure that our warfighter is put first, and we want to make sure that America continues to lead. And today, Mr. President, you've allowed that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great day for our country, not just for our state of Alabama. We need help in our military. We need to catch up. And as Secretary has said, we're not behind in space, but we know where we're at, and we need to expound on that. Now, this move will save the taxpayers $480 million. It's not going to cost more. It's going to cut $480 million. We have the plans intact, It'll be behind a secure wall in Huntsville, Alabama at Redstone Arsenal. We have 40,000 people there. We have the FBI there. We have missile defense there. We have NASA, Blue Origin, and SpaceX. It is the perfect place for Space Command. I would tell you today, and I've spoke with the president for the last 3 or 4 years about this. If I thought it needed to go somewhere else because I understand the security of our country, I'd be for that. But the best place for Space Command is Huntsville, Alabama, because what we have and what it means to this country is going to be so important. So thank you, Mr. President, for this, and we look forward to building a huge Space Command and having the Donald J. Trump Space Command Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Here, here.
JD, would you like to say something?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, thank you. I'll be very brief here. I lobbied the president hard to put it in Ohio, but he said these people behind us, these Alabamas, are just too powerful and too persuasive. And so it's in Alabama, but as Tommy said, this is exactly the right place for Space Force and Space Command. I think Americans ought to appreciate the fact that you can't win the battle of the future unless you control the skies. The cyber security, the communications, the entire infrastructure of the battle in the 21st century will be in space. So it was a visionary move in the first administration for the president to set up Space Force, and I think an equally visionary move to make sure that Space Force is right where it should be in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, anybody want to say anything? Would you like to say?
Mr. President, another promise made, another promise kept. You think about it, Redstone Arsenal is critical to national security. The president said when you were the 45th president, let's do what's right for national security. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not because of this or that. It's because it's right for national security. You think of the 21 categories that were evaluated to determine what was best for national security. All indicators pointed back to Huntsville, Alabama, and Redstone Arsenal. We have the right people at the right place at the right time. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the 5th Congressional District and all of Alabama, thank you for keeping your word. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Let me just say, Mr. President, I want to say thank you. And thank you for doing this because it was the right thing to do. When they looked at all the numbers, Huntsville was the place to go, and like you say, it was unfortunately pulled out, but you made it right. So I want to just say thank you again for a grateful nation, and to the state of Alabama, we're very grateful. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mike, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout history, militaries has always understood that whoever could hold the high ground held the advantage. Space is the ultimate high ground. And what we're doing with moving the Space Command to Huntsville is absolutely critical to our maintaining dominance in that sphere. And it goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do with the Golden Dome and missile defense to defend against anyone else who tries to enter that sphere. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. And obviously, national defense is a huge issue. And when you look at the scores, Alabama was #1. And for political reasons, it was moved out of our state. But Mr. President, thank you for making priorities the defense and the warfighter and the safety of this nation. And in the big, beautiful bill, that Golden Dome will be built in Huntsville, Alabama, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Listen, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I care very much about what's most important for our national security. And the president held a nationwide competition to determine where we should have this command. If y'all remember, at the end of that competition, where Alabama came in first, there was a lot of complaints from the other states who did not place well. He said, we'll do it over with new criteria to accommodate your concerns. Alabama came in first in that second competition. His Secretary of the Air Force reviewed the results, said it was fair, and the president named Huntsville. It was the Biden administration that decided to make it political, even though his own Secretary of the Air Force said it was a fair competition and it should be in Huntsville. So I want you to know I appreciate this president standing up and being strong and saying he's going to make this right and put it where it rightfully belongs, and that's Huntsville, Alabama.
Thank you very much. Good job. Appreciate it. So thank you all very much. You are going to leave me alone now. You're not going to call me anymore and talk about this subject, right? You promise? They'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Tuberville, you talked about the cost savings associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about moving to this location, moving to Alabama, Huntsville in particular. So we're honored to do it. They really wanted it badly, and they got it. Peter?
President Trump, something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own, pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's
well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. It'd have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, and But I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have. There's something going on. And it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin?
Yeah, I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Will there be any consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah, there will be. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7,000, between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Mr. President, have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with. They should have had the water coming down, like I said. We had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to L.A. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Did you make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago, it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week. You know, it was like years, many years, where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, they were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have I would say Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place, and you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am, please.
Mr. President, as you're calling on Democratic leaders across the country to work with you on crime, do you see your efforts here in D.C., including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
So Mayor Bowser's been great. She could have taken the thing, oh, well, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done, there's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And you know, remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great, he's not, we're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes, but the main thing is but he got up and said, we did it. Well, he didn't want us there, and he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain. It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. It's a lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat. But when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, that's not this country. We have to do something. And I do say this, I say this very much. I'm not speaking to anybody but them right now. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force. You know, Pete will tell you that when I was running for office, and this was a big headline, I think, you know, probably got me a couple of votes, but you couldn't sign people in the military. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Air Force, the Navy, Marine, Space Force, Coast Guard. We never forget Coast Guard because they've done such a great job. Never. But nobody wanted to join any of them. We were way below what we wanted. Every single one. The closest was the Marines, whatever that is. You'll explain that to me. But the closest was the Marines. But every service was way down, way down. And then I got elected, and our country's the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. Everybody's talking about the USA. They're talking about the job that we're doing. Everybody. We have the best economy. We have a very, very important decision being made by the Supreme Court because our country is the richest, the strongest, the most powerful. But if for some reason some liberal court, I'm talking about the court that just ruled, where even an Obama judge voted in favor of us, which I gave him a compliment yesterday, as you know. I said that took great courage. But it's a liberal court, and it's going up to the Supreme Court, who I think have been incredible people. I think they've made very wise decisions. But the tariff question, because without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. And if for some reason somebody wanted to be politically correct, I actually think it's unpolitically correct. I think politically correct is to approve it because there's nothing so popular as what's happened to our country. Our country is doing so well. But we had a liberal court gave us a very shocking ruling, and that ruling is basically saying that the trillions of dollars that are pouring into our country, putting us in a position like no country is anywhere in the world, that they'd like to see us that taken away. By the way, a lot of the people behind that lawsuit, that particular, are from foreign countries. I might add.
There's a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residents upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated.
So
Actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
So that's a fake video?
Well, it's got to be because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that because there's cameras all over the place, right? Including yours. No, but every window, I've never seen a window that's, in fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed. And number two, each window weighs about 600 pounds. You have to be pretty strong to open them up. No, that has to be, where was the window? Let me see.
Maybe from the renovations.
Which is the window?
It looks like this is on the 15th Street side, I think.
Yeah.
So right here.
Yeah, those windows are sealed. Those windows they're all sealed. You can't open them.
What you were saying regarding the federal.
It's the kind of thing they do. And one of the problems we have with AI, it's both good and bad. If something happens really bad, just blame AI. But also they create things, you know, it works both ways. If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI. But there's truth to it because I see so many phony things. I saw something as I was growing up from the time I was a baby till now. I said, who did that? It was AI generated. So it's a little bit scary, to be honest with you. But those windows are all very heavily sealed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to follow up with what you were saying regarding that federal appellate court that ruled against you and your administration as it relates to your ability.
Well, they ruled against our country, the court, and they ruled against us before. It's a very liberal court.
You called it highly partisan in your
Well, it
social
certainly
media
is.
posts.
It certainly
and
is.
in fact, it was along ideological lines, 7-4.
Well, except that we actually got one of the Obama judges that was appointed by President Obama voted in favor of the tariffs because he felt it was imperative for our country to thrive and survive even. And I gave him credit. I said, you know what? That took a lot of courage for him to do it because you don't see that often.
So my question is, I suspect you're going to appeal that all the way to the Supreme Court.
Well, we already have, yeah. In fact, we're doing something else. We're going to be going to the Supreme Court, we think, tomorrow because we need an early decision. I mean, look, the financial fabric of our country, we're a rich, incredible country right now. And we're able to, you know, other countries use tariffs on us for years, and we never did. I did a lot during my first term, but then we had COVID and we had to focus on other things. You couldn't be tariffing Italy, Spain, France, as they were dying by the thousands and millions. But we did with China, and China paid us billions and billions of dollars. And I started the process, but then I had to end it a little bit because of COVID. We focused on that. But no, it's a very important decision. And frankly, if they make the wrong decision, it would be a devastation for our country. We've taken in trillions of dollars. And by the way, all these countries signed agreements, as an example. They're all happy. Everybody's happy. But some whack job put in a lawsuit. It went before a very liberal court. And the liberal court ruled, it was 11, they ruled 7-4. With one of the most liberal of them all voting in our favor because they're patriots. I think I give tremendous credit to that judge. And now it's going to the Supreme Court. Now we're going to be asking for early admittance. We're going tomorrow, and we're going to ask for an expedited ruling because, you know, when you look at the stock market's down today, the stock market's down because of that. Because the stock market needs the tariffs. They want the tariffs. If you look at AI, all of those, you know, all of that money that's going to be invested, trillions and trillions of dollars, the biggest thing, bigger than the internet, I suspect. It's the internet plus 3 or 4 other things combined. We are leading very substantially with AI. We're leading because of tariffs. We're leading because of talent, and this is where they'd like to be. But without the tariffs, we wouldn't have a chance because we wouldn't be able to protect those investments of the companies coming in. So if you took away tariffs, we could end up being a third world country. That's how big the ruling. So we're asking for an expedited ruling.
As a backstop to that, President, you have a Republican-controlled Congress. You control the House. You control the Senate.
Yeah, but we don't have 60 votes. We don't have 60 votes. I'd love to do that. Oh, if we had 60 senators, if we got the 60 votes, we would get them. But we need 60 votes, and we need, you know, a certain number in the House. I think we'd get, I don't know, we have about 5 of them here. Would everybody agree with me on tariffs? Without tariffs, we're a different country. We have taken in so much money. And here's the thing. We signed a deal with Japan. They're paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We signed a deal with South Korea. We signed a deal with the European Union. We signed a deal with Europe. And those countries are paying us $950 billion. And they're happy about it. They're okay. As one of them said, it's amazing that we got away with it so long. One of my friends, a leader of one of the countries, and they're fine with it. They all signed. If that ruling ever went against us, I guess would have to give back hundreds of billions. We would have to give trillions and trillions of dollars back to countries that have been ripping us off for the last 35 years. And I can't imagine it happening. On a legal basis, they have no legal basis whatsoever. But on a common sense basis, it would destroy America. Okay.
You talked about controlling the sky. On Sunday, the satellite signal of Ursula von der Leyen's plane was alleged.
With Ursula? Well, she had an interesting event. She's a tremendous woman. And so what are you asking me about her?
NATO is concerned about an attitude about this.
Sure, NATO is concerned about it. Well, nobody knows where it came from, but they did take away her ability to use a phone. You know? Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that could happen to me. I'd be very happy.
Mr. President, reducing the tariffs on India from 50%.
What does that mean?
Are you considering taking away some of the tariffs that you've imposed on India? You had posted.
No, we get along with India very well. But India has, you have to understand, for many years it was a one-sided relationship. Only now since I came along, and because of the power that we have with tariffs, India was charging us tremendous tariffs, about the highest in the world. They were about the highest in the world, number one. And we therefore weren't doing much business with India, but they were doing business with us because we weren't charging them. Foolishly, we weren't charging them. So they would send in massive, everything they made, they'd send it in, pour it into our country. Therefore, it wouldn't be made here, which is a negative. But we would not send in anything because they were charging us 100% tariffs. And, I'll give you an example, Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson couldn't sell into India. There was a 200% tariff on a motorcycle. So what happens? Harley Davidson went to India and built a motorcycle plant. And now they don't have to pay tariffs. Same thing as us. So what we're doing is literally thousands of companies are coming into the U.S., car companies, AI, but, more traditionally, car companies. We have so many car company factories under construction or being designed right now. And they're coming from China, they're coming from Mexico, I must tell you, and they're coming from Canada. A lot of them coming from Canada. But they're coming into our country because they want to build here. And they want to build here for two reasons. Number one, they'd like to be here. And number two, the tariffs are protecting them. And number three, they want to avoid paying tariffs. When they build their cars here, they don't have any tariffs to pay. When you build here, you don't have any tariffs.
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
in
please.
light of the Minnesota shooting last week, the Department of Homeland Security is now awarding more than $100 million to hundreds of faith organizations across the country to help them ramp up security. What's your vision for further protecting religious liberty across the country amid incidents of threats and
So
violence?
religious liberty is so important, and we're talking about every religion now, and we're doing things on that nobody else has ever done, and we're going to be having a big announcement in about 2 weeks on that question. Yeah, please.
On Space Command, sir, are you concerned that people may not be willing to relocate from Colorado to Alabama?
No, I'm not worried. It will get somebody else. The problem with Colorado is they have a very corrupt voting system. I have so many friends in Colorado. Anytime you have mail-in voting, you have corrupt elections. Very simple. It's very simple. Even Jimmy Carter said it with his commission. They set up a commission with him and Scoop Jackson and some people, highly regarded people. And they said the finding was, if you have mail-in voting, you will have corrupt elections. Well, your radical left governor decided that he was going to have all mail-in voting in Colorado. Once you have all mail-in voting, and for whatever reason, the Democrats cheat. And they cheat like, they're not stupid. That's the only thing. They're no good on policy. They're no good on management. They're no good at government. But they're great at cheating. And they stick together, too. I give them credit for sticking together. Please.
Obviously, this is a big win for national security, moving this to Alabama. We all can agree with that.
Big.
Is there any idea of the economic impact this has on the state and on that local area?
Katie, do you want to answer that?
Look, go ahead.
Please go.
This is going to be tremendous. I mean, the state of Alabama, what we've seen through this process is the worst of Washington. We've seen politics get in the way of what is best for the warfighter, what's best for national security. And the state of Alabama is about to show the country the best among us. So we know the economic impact is going to be tremendous. There at Redstone Arsenal, we're proud to house everything from the FBI to headquarters there for material command to a number of things. We obviously have NASA with Marshall Space Flight Center, and so this naturally fits within. When you look at the decision matrix that they placed in front of us, that's why we ranked so high, is because we have the resources necessary and the ability to build out quickly to meet the needs in front of us. As far as economic impact, it would be tremendous. Does anybody have an exact number? 1,600 jobs.
3,000 spin-off.
With 3,000 spin-off. Look at this. This is teamwork right here. So we are really proud, and the people of Alabama are ready to get to work.
And I've got a housing question, if you could, just for a second, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
please.
Owning a home and going about the American dream seems like it's out of touch for a lot of Americans. Just recently, you pushed out a statement about addressing an emergency housing situation.
That's right. We're thinking about doing that.
Yeah, can you just...
Well, we need a little help from the Fed. We have a man named Jerome Too Late Powell. You probably heard of him. He's too late. He's way too late. And the economy is so strong that it's pushing through that. Normally, it would have been much tougher, but we're doing so well that we're pushing through it. But it makes it very hard for people to get mortgages because too late is too late. Very simple. He's too late. And probably political, whatever. He wasn't too late before the election. Before the election, he was cutting rates, right? Because he was hoping that, I guess, Biden would get in or that Kamala would. He was a big Biden guy. Explain that one. And then he was a Kamala person. But he was hoping, I guess, she'd win, I guess. I don't know. It didn't work out too well. But, yeah, we need a very serious cut. You know, I think that if you look back many decades ago, the United States was always the lowest, even if they were doing badly. The United States was, because without the United States, everything in the world would die. It's true. It's so powerful. It's so big. And I made it really big in the first 4 years. Then it started to degenerate with what this Biden administration did. But we built it up to a level that I never thought we could be at this quickly. We're the hottest, we're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things. Plus, it gets us great negotiating. I settled 7 wars, and numerous of those wars were because of trade, and numerous of the trade deals that I made were because of tariffs. It gives you a great negotiating ability. If that ability were taken away from us by a liberal court acting on essentially foreign nations, asking to get help from the United States government, when they've been doing this to us for 40 years, that's why we have $38 trillion in debt. We won't have it for long if they let us, if they allow us to do what everybody knows we should be able to do. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, another Biden-era action that you're now reversing is that you signed a deal last week to make federal buildings adopt and embrace classical architecture styles again. Can you talk to us about why you do that, and also what's your vision?
Well, we want to see beautiful buildings. Now, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder. I've seen architectural reviews over the years. I'm an expert at it. I've gotten a lot of great reviews. But I've seen buildings that I didn't think were very good get great reviews, and I've seen great buildings get bad reviews. So, but it's just a standard. We want to have a good standard. We're building something here, you know, for 150 years they wanted a ballroom at the White House. We're doing something at the highest level using great architects and all. And, you know, it's very exciting. But we have a lot of interesting things happening architecturally in D.C. And D.C. is like a different place. And, you know, even the contractor said, sir, we walked down today, we feel like much safer. It's like a different place. Washington, D.C. is great. Now, we're going to also beautify it. We're going to put a topping on the roads. We're not going to rip them apart and take 4 years to build a road that was exactly the same by the time you build it. But we're going to put toppings. We're going to put new medians in. We're going to get the graffiti